What is up, you guys? It has been a minute, which I feel like I say in every intro because it's always been a hot minute since I've uploaded videos. But anyways, I'm back finally with the highly anticipated wide Taisteal Tote sew along video. I started filming this video a long time ago, and for some reason I just never finished it. It's been sitting at the edge of my table just staring at me for well over a month, and for that I apologize, but it's here now. I made it using cork on the outside and then waxed canvas on the inside. On this one, I added the crossbody strap here, and you'll notice that I omitted the accent strap color, which was just personal preference for this bag. It doesn't make any difference in the overall construction. I did one inside pocket instead of the two, which obviously you just replicate the directions on both sides if you would like to, but everything else is the same. So be sure to leave me a comment, let me know what you think, and happy sewing. I have all of my pieces cut and ready to go. I have my exterior top and exterior bottom. These are both in cork. And for the rest of my cork pieces, I have my crossbody strap anchors, my zipper overlay. You'll notice that I only have one because I am only doing one zipper overlay or one zipper pocket in my lining. The pattern shows you how to do two, but for the purposes of this tutorial, I am just showing you one, and then you can repeat it on the other side of the lining. I have my crossbody strap, my two rolled handles, and then my sunglasses pocket. I have one zipper and my zipper head, which I got from Zipper Valley. Love these hoops. And then for the linings, or lining, and for the inside of the pockets, I'm using waxed canvas. The reason I'm using waxed canvas is because you don't have to interface it, and I am lazy and I don't want to spend time doing that. And another reason is because it gets this really, really cool crinkly look, which I absolutely love. Wax canvas is just thicker than quilting cotton by nature because it's canvas, duh. But it's thicker, so it's sturdier, it has more oomph, and so that's why it doesn't need to be lined. Also, you can't line this with traditional iron-on interfacing because the iron will heat up the wax and it's a whole thing. But anyway, so I have my exterior pocket linings, interior pocket linings here, and then my interior. So I'm going to move all this stuff out of the way. And the first thing that we are going to do is in step 2, you would interface all of your linings, all of your pockets, everything like that. But because I don't have to do that, we're going to skip that. But I am going to taper my lining panels. So step 2 shows you for the wide Taisteal, it gives you the measurement, but I'm just going to fold it in half to make it easy. Make sure you guys can see. And then, so this is my top up here. So I'm going to angle my ruler in. So my ruler will meet up with this corner here, and then it's going to come in here in order to create that taper. So using the measurement in the pattern, I am going to taper it. And this doesn't have to be perfect, especially wax canvas is kind of, it's just tougher to work with, a little, not tougher to work with, don't get me wrong, but it's just stiffer. So when I just folded it, it wasn't a perfect fold. So anyways, I digress. So, all right, that's step 2 there. Oh, wait. So you can cut out, step 2 tells you that the amount of the boxes to cut out at the bottom to create that boxed bottom, easier later on when we're sewing. But I'm actually gonna wait until we get to that step because at that point, everything will be sewn together and things might shift a little bit. And then when I cut the boxes out, I know that they'll be the same on both sides. Okay, so the next step is we are going to create the rolled shoulder straps, or shoulder, yeah, handles, straps, whatever you want to call them. And the way I'm going to do that is draw a line down the center straps. Ooh, a little crazy. And then now I'm going to take my double stick tape and I'm going to stick it. Okay, so there's my line. I'm going to stick it just about 1/8 of an inch away from on either side of that drawn line. And so I'm just going to start at one end down here and then just run it all the way down the strap. And when I get down here, I'm just gonna fold it under to create that turn and then fold it under again. It doesn't have to be a perfect fold. You just want to make that curve, or not a curve. You just want to make that turn there. Otherwise, you could also just cut it and not worry about it. All right, so now we have our double stick tape. What we're gonna do is we're gonna peel it and then we're gonna fold one long edge in to almost touch that line. I'm gonna leave just the slightest, probably a 1/16 of an inch gap in between where I fold my edges. And the reason for that is if you leave a little tiny gap, sorry, this is a really bad example here. Let me just peel it, I'll show you. So I'm just going to fold it just under that line on both sides. All right, so it's about 1/8 of an inch actually. You can see, so I left that gap. And the reason for that is then when you fold it later to create the rolled strap, it gives it some room to fold and you're not fighting with it. And then also whenever you stitch down this side, or if you want to stitch down this side, it's just a little bit less bulky. So now I'm just going to peel and stick all the way down both long edges. All right, so before we move on to the next step, what we're going to do is we have to mark where we're going to sew up to whenever these are attached to our exterior tops. And that measurement is in the pattern. And so you're just going to do, there's 2 measurements actually. And so both measurements you are just going to mark on the right sides of both straps, starting from each short edge. And so one of the lines is going to be where you sew up to, and then the second line is going to be where you start sewing whenever you have your middle seam enclosed in the fold to create the rolled strap. The second line is where we're going to start sewing to create the rolled strap, and then this first line here is where we're going to sew whenever we're attaching it to the bag. And so for the second line, so it's only a 1/2 inch higher. If it's easier, you can make this second line higher because whenever it's on the bag, I'll just show you on this one. Whenever you're attaching this, you can see that it's a really tight squeeze because the end of the rolled strap, because it's only 1/2 inch, it can make it a little bit tight whenever you're trying to get up here to stitch across this. So if you want to start your rolled strap a little bit higher, you can totally do that. And by doing, or to do that, you just, again, extend that second line up a little bit farther. All right, so now we need to attach our strap to our exterior panel. And so I'm gonna get one exterior top. All right, so we've got a new angle here. Let me know what you think about it. The next step that we're gonna do is we are going to actually sew the straps here. So starting at that second line, I'm gonna fold the strap in half, enclosing the raw seam, and then I'm gonna start sewing. And then I'm gonna be sure to backstitch really well right here, just to be sure that it's nice and strong, because that is gonna be a high stress point when it's on the bag. If you want to, at this point, you can go all the way down and clip. I'm just gonna fold it as I go. And I'm sewing at about 1/8 of an inch in. And now we have a nice rolled handle all ready to go. All right, so we're gonna do the same thing on this one, just fold it and then start sewing from that second line. Okay, so now that we've got the handles done, I just went ahead and added some double stick tape on this little section. Make sure if you do that, that you add it 1/2 inch up, because it'll gum up your needle later, or it'll just be easier to sew if you start at 1/2 inch up. So I'm just gonna peel that, and then using the measurement from the pattern, I'm measuring that in, and then I'm gonna lay my strap edge straight against this edge, and I'm gonna overlap it below the bottom by 1/2 of an inch here, so you can see it on the back. And that is because whenever I rivet the strap into place later, this gives it some strap to actually rivet into to help provide that structure, or that strength later on. So I'm just gonna do the same thing on this side here. Okay, so now it should look like this. And you might be tempted to sew up and around, and I'm going to tell you to not do that. Trust me when I say that it will just make it easier later on. Just don't do that yet. So we're going to leave that just taped for now, and the next thing we're going to do is grab an exterior bottom, and we're going to create our sandwich. So you're just going to lay them long edges together. I'm just going to throw a couple clips here just to hold it in place. And I'm not putting any clips here in the middle because this is where we're going to create our pocket, and our pocket, exterior pocket linings are going to go here. So you're just going to have to move those clips if you do clip them. Okay, so our exterior pocket top is going to be the bigger one. So they're both the same width, but the bigger one, or the taller rather, and that one is going to go, you guessed it, on the exterior pocket top. Now the trick to this pocket is we're going to lay them going the opposite direction of the rest of the bag. And so I'm just going to center them over my straps here, and I'm going to push it up by at least 1/2 of an inch. If you have sew tights, this is a really good place to use them. I don't know if you've ever seen them. They're pretty handy. Let's see. So they're just these long magnets, but they're great for stuff like this, to put in a place where clips can't reach. So there we go. And then you're gonna flip it over. And so you can see, if we can get it to show you, you can see how the pocket lining extends beyond the pocket. And that is so that later, whenever we're boxing this pocket in, it's just easier to work with. So now the exterior pocket bottom, you're gonna lay, and again, overlap it by at least 1/2 of an inch. And this is what you should have. So your exterior bottom, exterior pocket bottom, exterior pocket top, exterior top. And then through all of that, your strap should be coming out the top here. So now we're gonna go back over to the machine and I'm gonna sew across this whole bottom edge. And I'm gonna throw a couple back stitches so you can feel, let me scratch it here. You can feel where the strap is under there. And when I reach the inside of that strap, I'm gonna put some back stitches here, and then I'm gonna switch to a basting stitch, and I'm gonna stitch with a basting stitch, so 5 millimeters across until I reach the other side of the inside of the strap over here. Then I'm gonna switch back to my regular stitch length, and then back stitch really well over the strap, and then continue on. And the reason for that is later, whenever we are creating this pocket, whenever we're finishing the pocket, we're gonna unpick these basting stitches here. And that is to reveal that pocket. I'll show you on this one. So it just makes it almost like you would never know that the pocket was there because of how it's done. So, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna unpick these stitches from in here, which is why it's easier to do a basting stitch rather than having to unpick close stitches. Okay, so I'll see you at the machine. All right, so I had quite a bit of a setback. I had made it pretty far and I was continuing my sewing and gotten to a few steps later, and it wasn't right, so I had to unpick everything, and I figured I wasn't going to put you guys through the painful process of that. So I just went ahead and erased all those videos, and I'm restarting. So that's why you see all these stitches, in case you're wondering. But yeah, so now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna start stitching up here, and I'm gonna stitch across at a 1/4 inch seam allowance, being sure to back stitch whenever I meet up with my straps. So I can feel where my strap starts over here, and I back stitch a little bit, and I'm just gonna add a couple more back stitches right here at the beginning, or at the inside of the strap. And now I'm gonna switch to that basting stitch and continue stitching until I get to the other inside of the strap. All right, and now switch back down, throw some back stitches in there, and continue sewing. So the next step that we need to do is butterfly our seams open. And you want to pull this the exterior lining pocket top, put it towards the top, and then leave the bottom towards the bottom. And then you're just gonna butterfly this seam open and finger press it really well. And you're gonna leave the strap ends facing out. And so I'm just applying pressure, finger pressing. And then we're gonna go back to the machine and we're gonna top stitch from the top side. We're gonna top stitch our seam open all the way down across the straps and then down across the bottom. You might, again, be tempted to sew your straps down right now, and don't do that. We're going to do that next. So butterfly your seams really well, finger press really well, and then we're going to go top stitch. All right, so with the top, exterior top side up, just going to butterfly and start stitching. And you can reach under the bottom. I didn't get that. Oh, my watch is talking to me. And so you can reach under the bottom and push the butterfly open, the butterfly seams open, just to make sure that they are laying correctly. And then you can feel it too with your hands the whole time you're sewing as well. When it gets to this strap area, that's where things get a little bit hard to work with, but just go slow and you should be fine. All right, I'm gonna throw a couple stay stitches in my strap again from the front just to be safe. And you're not basting across this section. You're keeping with your regular stitch length. And then just keep it moving. When I'm top stitching, I am looking at the middle of the left side of my presser foot, and I'm keeping that aligned with my seam, and that's what's helping me keep a straight seam line here. So this is what it should look like from the back. You should have both of your cork pieces top stitched down. Your strap should be sticking out from here. And then this is what it looks like from the front. Now, since I'm still at the machine, actually, I need to fix this seam line. Man, this bag is just giving me the hardest time. See, so all of you who think that people who have YouTube channels just have it together and that we're the best seamstresses or sewers, that's not the case. We mess up just as much as everybody else. We just do it on camera. This is the part that's bugging me. I don't know if you could see it, but it just dips right there, which probably wouldn't be super noticeable to somebody who doesn't sew, but I can't knowingly leave it. And so I'm just going to unpick between the straps because I had to add back stitches right here anyhow, so I can restart my stitches and it shouldn't be too noticeable. Okay, let's try this again for the millionth time. Okay, that's better. And so, since I'm over here, what I'm going to do is just turn it around and you flip the lining pocket top down to meet with the lining pocket bottom, and you should see that they align really nicely. And I'm just going to throw a couple of clips. And I'm going a little bit out of order from the pattern here, but you know. So now I'm going to flip, and so from the right side, I'm going to pull back this piece, and I'm just going to stitch and close this pocket. All right, so now the pocket is all done, and we need to add our top stitching around the straps finally. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna start 1/8 from this edge here, go up and go to that first line that I drew, stitch across and then back down. And I'm gonna do that on this strap as well. And of course, I skipped a stitch, because why wouldn't I? This bag is giving me a runaround, so why wouldn't it skip a stitch? Now I'm going to do the same on this side. So now this panel is complete, and we just need to go and unpick these stitches to reveal this pocket. So what we want to do to reveal this inside pocket is we just need to unpick those basting stitches. And what I like to do is just fold and crease this so that you can see the stitches down in there, and then just very carefully unpick. You want to make sure that you're not digging your seam ripper in too far, because you don't want to snip the pocket back here. So once you have it once you have the seams ripped out, there is your pocket down in there. And one of the most annoying parts about this bag is just picking out all of these little tiny threads. But once you get that done, then your front panel is done. I'm gonna go back and add my tag here, so if you see that later in the video, that's why. At this point, if you want to add rivets to the straps, you can. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one up here and one down here just to lock the strap in. And I got this from Tops and Bobbins. I know you're going to ask. A lot of times I like to do 2 rivets on the top and then 2 on the bottom. It just all depends on the look that I'm going for. I'll show you. So on this one, you can see I just did the top and bottom like I'm gonna do on the wide down here. And then on this one, I did 4. You can also take it all the way up the strap if you want, or you can just do none. This is another thing that you can do too. You can add stitching down the center for accents. Okay, so I'm just going to use my hand punch these holes, then get these rivets added. Okay, now we need to make the other side. On this side, I'm not adding the pocket, so this side should hopefully come together much quicker. And the way that we do that is we're just gonna add our strap to the exterior top here, using, again, those measurements in the pattern and overlapping by 1/2 inch. My ruler is so worn off. I go through rulers so quickly because the lines on them seem to run off, or they wear off so fast. If you have a ruler and that doesn't happen, please tell me in the comments. Okay, and then we take our exterior bottom and we're gonna make the sandwich. And then we're gonna head to the machine and stitch just like before, all the way across. But when you're stitching in between your straps here, you can just keep it a normal stitch length. You don't have to baste. Now, since I'm over here, I'm just gonna go ahead and flip this and finger press. And then you also want to finger press this side up. And then we're going to top stitch. I got so close. I'm gonna have to redo that. Ay, ay, ay. As you can see, I basically stitched in the ditch right here. This is why I don't like to use contrast stitching. I love it. I love the way it looks, but it is such a pain in the butt. No room for error, that's for sure. I'll be glad when I'm done with this exterior, that is for sure. I'm already dreading the top stitching at the end. Okay, that looks much better. All right, so now I'm just gonna top stitch up my straps here across and then back down, just like on the other side. All right, Here we go. This side is finished. I forgot we have to add some rivets to complete this side. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that real quick. Now it's time to put our front and back together. So we are going to lay them right sides together. And I am going to first line up these butterfly stitches and work my way around, because when the bag is complete, that's the part that I want to line up. So start on that side, and then I'm going to go to this side. This part can be a little bit wonky because the straps, because they're already rolled, they don't lay nice and flat. So just do your best. All right, and so now that I've got my side seams matched up, I'm just going to work my way around and clip the bag. And because we didn't cut, or because I personally didn't cut the squares out of the bottom corners, I need to do that before sewing. And the reason I didn't do that is because, let's see how I've got a little bit of overlap here? And that's because I took the time, or I was more careful on matching up my side seams. Whereas if I had cut the boxes before, I just know myself, I can't sew a straight line, but I know most people can, but I can't. So that's why I waited to cut the boxes. And so there are measurements in the pattern that you're gonna mark out depending on the bag that you're making, whether it be tall or wide. Obviously I'm making the wide. And then I'm gonna cut those boxes out of both. All right, and then now we're gonna go back over to the machine and I'm gonna start stitching at the top right. I'm gonna stitch all the way down, and then I'm gonna do the puckering method where I back stitch and then I pull these corners to meet up and then continue stitching. You'll see over there. If you're unfamiliar with this technique, I outline it in the written pattern, and you can also hear about it. I learned about it from Lauren Mormino. Now that we have all of our corners, or everything sewn together, you're going to just push your fingers out. And because of the way that we box the corners, it's going to make the seams align very nicely. So just pull it apart until you feel those seams laying against each other. Just gonna throw a clip on here just to hold it in place. And then just sew across the bottoms. Okay, so now I've got it all assembled, and I'm just going to trim down my seam allowances to be about 1/8 of an inch wide. So this is what the exterior is going to look like. And here is our front pocket. And you can see, because of what we did earlier, we have the nice folded edge in there. And you can still see my mistake from where I had to pull everything apart, but it's okay. So I'm gonna work a little bit out of order because I want to edge coat my crossbody strap anchors, and I want them to be done by the time I get to that point. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these going. So I'm just gonna take two and glue or double stick tape them together. And if you want to, you can add interfacing in here, but I find that with the 2 layers of cork, it's more than substantial, but you can use your own opinion on that. So I'm just gonna glue these together. And then I'm gonna pop to the machine and I'm just gonna stitch around all 4 sides, and I'm gonna create a little bevel on my corner just like I do with everything else that I make. So I'm gonna go do that now, and then we'll come back and we'll edge coat these. So I just went ahead and top stitched those together, and I'm just gonna snip my little corners here. And then I'm just gonna tighten up if I have any overlapping edges. All right, and so those are gonna be my 2 strap anchors. And now I'm just going to apply the first coat of the dense base coat, and get these going because I'm gonna have to do probably 2 to 3 coats, and I don't want this to hold me up at the end. I do have a full length video on how to do this, and it will be in the top right corner or left corner. It'll be somewhere on the screen, an extra video that links you to it. Okay, so the next thing that we are going to do is prep the zipper overlay for adding the zipper to the lining panel. And so I just have my zipper overlay rectangle cut. You can leave it like this, or you can cut your corners, you can round them. You can do whatever you want on this, on the edges that you want. But for me, or not for me, but I'll bevel mine. But for now, what we need to do is draw the interior box. And so you're gonna measure a 1/2 inch over on all 4 sides and make your marks. And then you need to cut that box out. Well, here's the box, I'll show you. So this is my interior box, and that's where the zipper is going to go. And so you need to cut that box out from the inside of the overlay. And I just do my 2 long edges with my rotary blade, and then I cut the short edges. Okay, now we have our overlay. And so this is where I'm going to cut those hard corners off. And so this is what mine looks like now. So I want to burn all the little fuzzies off of it. And then if you wanted to, you could finish this with edge coat or with glue. I'm just going to leave mine because I don't think it's a huge deal. If I was going to do either edge, or if I was going to do the interior edge or the exterior, I would prefer to do the interior because that's going to get more action with the zipper right there, and it will have more of a proclivity to cause the little like frays to come. Hi, so I apologize, but it has been a while since I initially started filming this video. So if you hear me repeating something that I said previously, that's why, because I started this probably a month or so ago and I'm just now getting back on the train. So here we go. We are at the zipper overlay. The last thing that I showed you was we cut it all out. Now we need to lay it on our interior panel here. And so as the pattern outlines. You're going to use the measurement that I provide in the pattern and measure down from the top. And then you're also going to center it. But actually, before I measure down, I'm going to fold this in half and just crease it to mark my center line. And now I'm going to measure down. I need a different ruler. All of my rulers, all the lines keep coming off, so I put this washi tape on it to try to help me see where all the measurements are, but it's so annoying. But I did just get this one in the mail today. So it's Maiden Voyage. This is got a lot of lines on it. This is kind of confusing. Okay, so using the measurement provided in the pattern, you are going to lay your overlay down on the center here. So I'm just going to apply a little bit of glue, and I'm just going to put glue around the outside edge. I'm going to do my best to not get it close to the cut out box, because that will help on the next step whenever we're cutting out the lining and insetting the zipper. All right, so I've got my glue. There we go. 3, 4. So you just want to let that set up. And then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go to the machine and we're going to top stitch just around the outside edge of this zipper box here. So I will see you at the machine. Oh, I almost forgot to put a tag in there. Let's see. Made with blood and some swearing. Yes, this seems fitting for this bag. So I'm just going to tuck this right under here. Right, we've got our zipper overlay ready to go. Okay, so next what we have to do is cut out the wax canvas from inside of here. And that is the reason that I did not glue at the very edge here, so that way I could get down and trim away a lot of that interior lining. So to cut that out, I'm just gonna cut a line, and then from back here, I'm just gonna trim it away. So now we have the exposed zipper box here. And I'm just gonna trim this tag as well, just so that way it doesn't peek out from the zipper area. All right, so next what we need to do is lay our zipper into place. First, if you're using Zipper by the Yard, make sure that you attach your zipper head. And then now you're just going to add glue around the interior cutout box here. And then I'm going to keep my zipper head to the left side. And I'm going to lay my lining right side down on top of the zipper. Just make sure that everything is nice and centered. And then apply pressure and let the glue set up. All right, so now you need to get your pocket pieces. Oh, here we are. So here's mine. You can see how long it's been. They're like covered in cat hair from Druzy being in here. This bag has really been just mocking me, sitting at the edge of my table forever. I don't know what was stopping me from working on it, but I'm vending an event tomorrow and I want to bring it, so here we are. Okay, so now I'm going to glue my pocket top, which is the bigger one, to along the top section here. And if you weren't using wax canvas or double-sided fabric, you would want to be careful of your direction. But I don't have to pay attention to that because I'm using wax canvas. And because I am using wax canvas, I'm just going to go ahead and I fold it over about 1/2 inch. I'm just going to line my top edges up here together and then flip it right out of the way to dry. And then I'm going to do the same with my pocket bottom. And so glue doesn't work extremely well on wax canvas, so if you have sew tights, this is a good time to employ those, which I will do in just a moment. And so the thing here is you want to make sure that you have your pocket linings far enough down that when we sew from the right side and we sew around this zipper box, that we're going to catch the pocket linings back here on the back. And with my luck with this bag, I probably won't, but we will see. Sew tights are these guys here. If you've never seen them, they're like really strong magnets and they're great for spots like this where clips don't reach. All right, so just want to double check, make sure my zipper still looks good on the front, which it does. So I'm gonna go to the machine and I'm gonna stitch around just the inside of the rectangular box now. And hopefully the plan is, let's see how well the glue's working, but to catch the wax canvas on the back in the same stitch. All right, so call me a glutton for punishment or maybe just ballsy, but I'm not gonna change my bobbin thread. I'm gonna leave it tan, so then we'll really be able to see if I catch my wax canvas. Should we check? Let's check. All right, so far so good. I skipped a stitch over here, so I'm just gonna keep it going. Hopefully it'll catch this time. There we go. Let's see the moment of truth. Woohoo! I caught him. Yay, that's exciting. All right, so now what we need to do is flip this pocket top down, and it should match up pretty nicely with the pocket bottom now. And I'm just going to throw a couple clips on here, and we're going to stitch around the sides, but we're going to leave the bottom open. That's going to be the birthing hole for later on. So make sure that you leave a nice wide section here because this is the wide bag and it will be a pain in the arse. Ta-da! There we go. Okay, so now it's all done. And I'm just gonna clip out just this little bottom L section here so that when I turn it later, it flips in nicer. But I'm not gonna worry about trimming the sides here because there's no reason. And then at this point, if you wanted to, you could add a second zipper pocket to the other side of the lining, but I'm going to skip that because I am lazy. We are going to move on to the next step, which I realized I skipped earlier, so we're actually going to do it now, which is just to make the sunglasses pocket. Luckily, it doesn't take long at all. So I'm just going to flip, wrong side up, fold down 1/4 to 1/2 inch, dealer's choice, clip, and then we're going to just go top stitch this edge here. And I'm not going to take you with me on that journey because you know how that works, but I'm just going to go stitch across here. I'll be right back. So here we have it, nicely top stitched, ready to go. And you just fold it in half. And if you want to, you can leave it just like this, or you can curve the bottom, which I don't really know why I like to do that. It's just something that I like to do. So I'm going to take my ruler and I'm just going to curve on this folded edge here. I'm going to cut a curve. Totally not necessary though, so you make your own decision. I got this curve template from Tops and Bottoms, and it's nice because it has the 1/2 inch, the 1 inch, 2 inch, and 1.5 inch curve round quarter templates. It's actually from By Piera, but Tops and Bottoms makes them now. So to finish this off, what I need to do is go sew up this bottom and up the curve. And I'm not going to sew all the way up here because I want the sunglasses pocket to kind of stay open when it's in the bag. So I'm just going to stitch from here to here. So again, I'm not going to take you on that all the way over there for that. So I'll be right back. Right here is where my sunglasses case is, and I just added some extra stay stitches there just to ensure that it stays in place when the bag's being used. And I'm going to do the same down here at the bottom. All right, so I'm doing this from memory, just having seen it a couple times on Lauren's channel. So if I mess up, what's new? I guess I should have said if I mess up, don't be surprised. All right, so since I'm over here, I'm gonna go ahead and reach in and box my corners. Now for the fun part, let's go put this bad boy all together. So before we lay the two bags together, or the interior exterior together, I am going to trim down my seam allowances just to cut down on bulk. So we're going to put the exterior into the interior. So I'm going to fold down my straps, and then I want my inside pocket to be towards the back of the bag. So like here's the one pocket, and then I want this one on the back side. So I'm going to put it in that way to where the back pocket is towards the back of the bag. Tuck this bad boy in, and then we just need to clip around the top edges and ensure everything lines up. And I need to find clips. Okay, so I'm all clipped and ready to go. Now I'm just gonna go to the machine, and I'm gonna use a 1/4 inch seam allowance and just sew around the entire top edge here. Sorry if you can't see, but I'm sure you can imagine. I will crunch the bag if I can. I'm gonna start on a side seam, which is always where I tend to start. That way if there's any like crunching or misshapenness to the bag, it's always on that side seam, and it seems, I don't know, I just feel like it's easier to fix when it's, or rather than it being in the middle of like a front panel. Okay, we're all stitched together. So from here, we're gonna pull through our birthing hole on the bottom. Yeah, this bag would have been a nightmare to turn through that little tiny birthing hole with this wax canvas. So I'm glad I am trying this way. And then, if I remember correctly, we're going to unzip this. And then we pull this hole here, this open birthing hole, we're gonna pull that through this pocket birthing hole. So we're gonna reach in, pull the lining up through here. Kind of like, I guess, a pain in the butt either way, because you're still pulling it through the pocket. Okay, let's see if I can figure out what the net here. So there's one side of the lining. Here's the other. And so what we're gonna do is fold the big birthing hole, or not fold it, but lay the edges back together. And sew across to sew it shut. This looks like a mess. Is a magic trick. Okay, so there's that. Now I'm going to trim this down before tucking it all back into the pocket. Okay, so now that goes back in here. And then it looks like it would look if you sewed it just normally, which that is pretty cool. Definitely made my job a lot easier, and I think that I will be employing that tactic in the future as well. And so now we need to pull out our pocket birthing hole and stitch this guy closed. So I'm just going to tuck my corners in here. Now we're going to stitch this closed. And then I'm going to switch the camera back over to the other side of the table, and we are going to get this bad boy all... Oh wait, no, I guess I should just stay over here. Never mind. I just need to tuck everything in now, but I need to top stitch, so I can just stay over here. So now that I've got it all tucked in, ready to go, the lining fits nicely in there. I love the wax canvas, how it's looking. I'm going to top stitch. I'm gonna prop my machine up just to give myself some more throat space down here for when the bag is turning, because I'm using contrasting thread and that's scary. It's gonna contrast on both the inside and the outside. Don't wanna mess this up if I can swing it. All right. Woo! She's a beaut. I love how it's coming out so far. This wax canvas is such a cool, it adds such a cool layered look to it. And then the sunglasses or glasses pocket fits. You guys see how large my glasses are, and it fits them nicely, nice and snugly. And then of course, if you wanted to, if you would have added that second pocket, you'd have another zipper pocket over here. But now, so you can leave it like this. She's perfectly fine as is, but because I didn't show you in the last video, I figured well, never mind. I'm showing you how to add the crossbody strap. I know that I talked about it earlier in the video, but I wanted to go ahead and get these done so that I could edge coat and they'd be ready to go by the time I was ready to finish them. Little did I know that they would have over a month to dry, but we're here now, and that's the important part. A mark on either side of my seam here. Okay. And now to punch all the holes. I normally just punch 2 on one side and then I fold it in half and use those holes as my guide. And so I'm just going to put 2 rivets, something on this one. Two rivets. Slide my D-ring on. And then should just be able to find the other end of your rivet. Just gonna slide a cap on there to hold it in place. Sometimes these thick seams will make this part a little difficult. Little bugger. Oh, it's right there. There we go. Oh, you. This tag is really actually true on this bag. I think it's testing my patience. All right, let's put this side now. Okay, so that's how we look with our little D-rings on there. And those can double as like key hooks too if people don't want to use the crossbody strap. But I don't know, I think it looks cute. All right, last thing we need to do is make our strap. So I've got my length cut here. You can cut your strap length to whatever length you want it. I think I normally do mine at 55. It's been so long since I cut this, I don't remember. Yep, so I did mine at 55. You do yours however you'd like to. And then I'm just doing a 1-inch fold rather than the top section that I usually do. You know, normally I do the 1 inch and then I do the 0.75 inch strip across the top as an opposite color, but I think for this, I'm just gonna keep it simple. But you could do it either way. All right, so I've got it all pinned. I'm just gonna pop over to the machine and I'm going to stitch down both long edges, and then I'm gonna also stitch down the center too. All right, we are in the final countdown here, and if you know how to make a strap, then by all means skip over this part. But be sure to leave me a comment, let me know what you thought. And if you don't know how to make a strap, then here we go. Normally I do the accent piece on top, and I tell you how to do that in the pattern. So if you want to do that, you certainly can. But I'm just like not really feeling it right now. So normally the side that I put as my inside section of my adjustable straps is the side where I start and stop my stitches, because then the other side is nice, whereas this side has like, I don't know, extra pieces. Anyways, so I'm just gonna mark my double rivet placement here. Cut that out. And then you just slide that. So this is the side that has the fold in it. And we're gonna loop that around and back down. So you want the side that isn't showing the fold on the outside. And then I'm just going to use my holes as guides. Alrighty, so now we've got this side riveted. We need to get this other side, and I'm going to slide one of my lobster clasps on. You want to make sure that your strap is straight, not twisted, and then you're going to loop it back through and then up and over like so. This is what it will look like. This part that you just riveted should be tucked in on the inside of that. And then now we're going to put our other rivet, or our other lobster clasp on this side. Oh, I need to mark my holes here. Alrighty then. I can't believe this bag is finally done. Here we go. I love it. And then of course it can be a crossbody as well. Perfect work bag if you ask me.